going to talk about when your dog can bite somebody and get away with it, and when your dog should not bite somebody and get away with it. And then we're going to go into a little step beyond that and show you how to keep your dog when he's in a situation where a bite may be necessary. I'm going to tell you how to avoid that. Okay? So we had my scholars over here, Scott Sinclair, getting after it. Everything in this, all laws in this country are based on the Magna Carta from England. As much as we like claiming we're the brilliant people who thought of all these laws and Constitution, all that stuff, that was the basis. And in that Magna Carta of England, they made stipulations for the lords and the duke and all them folks to protect their castle.
Yep.
With the law. And there was a doctrine that we used in our Constitution or our Declaration of Independence, and it's universal. Every state has, well, not every state. How many? Tell them about the castle law, Scott.
The big Castle Doctrine is the use of
Doctrine.
Castle Doctrine. So it's the use of deadly force in one's home to protect yourself and your inhabitants and your possessions without the threat of prosecution from the law.
Is that the only thing they got for dogs? Well, or for protection?
Back in 1947, Texas initiated something called Stand Your Ground laws, which has now been adopted. It's always come from Texas first.
Yeah, I was going to say, there you go, Texas.
Other states have adopted all this also. So Stand Your Ground law allows a person to use deadly force and stand your ground without retreating anywhere. Basically, let me read it this way. Bodily harm or death without having to first attempt to retreat. You don't have to retreat. You can stand your ground and fight. In public, on property, or anywhere, not just inside your home. So they actually took the Castle Doctrine and said, hey, if I'm in public or something's going on and someone's getting hurt, I can stand my ground and use deadly force without being prosecuted by the law.
So it doesn't have to be your domicile or your personal property.
No.
To defend you have a right to defend yourself.
Yes, in Texas and a few other states.
Well, I'll tell you what. So let's good point. So you got to remember this. What we're talking about, and over the years I've had people tell me, for instance, guard dog. When in my guard dog company we put signs all around the perimeter, and I've had some customers say, well, I heard that if you have a sign up saying your dog bites somebody, well, you might get sued. I don't know that I need that sign up there. And then I had would hear someone else say, well, have you got signs? Because we need signs. Because if you ain't got signs, then you can get sued because you got a vicious dog. So which is it, right? Yep. Because there's a motorcycle going by. Every state has got their right to take these basic doctrines and modify them. Okay? So these things can vary from state to state. But one thing you can count on, putting up no one can ever sue you if there's no harm. There has to be harm of some sort. Mm-hmm. So when you put up a sign, all you're doing is deterring someone who might attempt to rob you as far as your domicile. On the street, and this is where the stand your ground thing would come in, because the stand your ground takes it a step further than just protecting your castle.
Right.
That's protecting your body. And so on the street, you can't hang a sign around your dog. People be partying like this. You couldn't walk through Walmart with a sign saying dog bites. But if you've got a Western Shepherd, or you got a Rottweiler, you got a Doberman, it's kind of close to having a sign. So,
yeah.
So how many of the states actually use these laws?
All right.
Or doctrines?
So there's only one stand your ground state laws, and the state that's all they have is stand your ground in Washington State.
Huh?
They don't have
no castle,
nothing. That's all they got. That's what's incorporated in their deal. Just with the Castle Doctrine laws only, there's 15 states.
Okay.
Now, there's a lot of states that have both laws,
Oh, okay.
and there's 13 states.
So 28 states have the
Yeah.
Castle Doctrine,
Yes.
and 13 of those have, in addition to that, the Stand Your Ground. Or
No.
15.
Nope. Yes. Yes. So no. That's the states are all 50 states broken down is one stand your ground. There's 15 states with just the Castle Doctrine.
Just Castle's 15, okay.
So the states with both laws, there's 13 states, which include Florida, Texas, Oklahoma, Nevada. Hell, there's one little state in Maine there, close to Maine. There's one state of New England. Is that how you guys are up there? Rhode Island.
Rhode Island, really?
Now, there are 19 states with neither laws. They have none of this. No protect
Really?
yourself. Yeah. California is number one. All New England states, Oregon,
Okay.
and believe it or not, Arkansas.
Really? That's
I would have
fascinating.
thought, you know,
Southern states would be
Yeah.
shoot and bang them up, yeah.
yeah. So,
So there's 13 states with no reference to the Castle Doctrine or the Stand Your Ground.
now, some of these states, California included, do have a form of stand your ground laws. But like in Texas, Florida, it's statutory. It's part of the law. In California, if you stand your ground, you will be judged by a judge or a jury to see if it was you defending your house. So someone's
They
coming.
were justified.
Yeah. So you had no say. Someone breaks in your house. They get a good lawyer. Who knows what happens? You get your dogs euthanized, you're going to jail for 20 years for attacking somebody. They may steal your TV. So, yes, sir.
One of
So,
those states, because I don't want to live there.
But don't worry.
yeah.
You're living in the right one.
So what you're saying is, I ain't moving to California anytime soon, right?
I wouldn't go visit.
If you visit, leave your dog at the house.
Yeah.
So, okay, so now, I'm joking a little bit because there's a state law, a lot of these states that don't deal with the Castle Doctrine or the Stand Your Ground rule, they will, in their laws on vicious dogs, they'll make exceptions to dogs that are protecting the owner or their property. Most of them make an exception to, and like California, in their vicious dog law, not in their laws about protecting your property, but if you go look up the vicious dog laws, they have an allowance for a dog protecting the owner if he feels threatened. If I remember it correctly, they don't have a position for the dog protecting his property. Just if you yourself feel threatened and your dog bites, you can get that. What do you got, Carol?
Cat Fight says I have decals on my windows that I am armed. Can you put that on there? Like
Who's this now?
Decal Cat Fight.
Cat fight. So
Cat
say-
fight?
She has decals on her
Okay,
that say she's armed.
okay. So is that a question or a statement?
Statement.
Statement, yeah, I mean, that's good.
Nothing wrong with that. Now, but with her saying that, so that's for lethal weapons. So, talking about vicious dog laws and everything else, is the dog considered a lethal weapon?
No. No, and which is another reason you can do more with your dog than you can with your gun with less liability.
Okay.
The Supreme Court has ruled in 2 cases dealing with trained police dogs. I forget exactly which ones they are. I'm sure there'll be some officer out there or some attorney who can quote it for me. But if I remember right, there were 2 cases, one in the 50s and one again later in the late 60s. And in both cases, they ruled that a trained police dog, this is a dog who's trained to take someone out, and the Supreme Court did not consider that lethal force. It was considered, and I forget the exact term, but it's a form of force, yes, but it rates right with tasers, nightsticks, and that sort of thing.
Okay.
So it's not lethal, which lowers your liability quite a lot. Whereas Cat Fight's got that arsenal in her living room, it might look a little worse. So that's where you're a little safer with a dog than you would be.
Right. Okay.
But What else you got?
Well, not too much. That was pretty much all the laws. I
Okay.
was hoping you could enlighten me on some of the dog tactics and around all this stuff.
Well, yeah, and let's look at let's look at individual states. First, as far as keeping your dog out of the dog pound, in quarantine or whatever. Most, there's a division, and I don't know how the numbers, I should have mentioned this to Scott, he'd had them for
I
me.
would have.
But there's what they call a free bite state and a no bite state. States that have vicious dog laws, and this is not for necessarily for guarding your property, this is when the neighbor's kid comes over and pokes his finger in your dog's eye. So if in some state, in a no-bite state, if your dog bites somebody, you can be sued and they can be prosecuted as a vicious dog.
So basically, the signs, like you were saying, a lot of the signs, depending on where you live and the laws, have different meanings.
Yep,
Okay.
exactly. You need to check your state statutes.
Right.
Now, in a one-bite state, which Texas is most states the majority are one-bite states. So, whoops. So what a one-bite state means, if your dog bites somebody in Texas, now he's on record. And until you know your dog will bite someone or has a tendency to bite someone, they can't prosecute you. You don't have to worry about losing your dog or anything of that nature.
Right.
But a second bite will bring the wrath of the lawyers down upon you.
Yeah. I know the first bite, they'll come and they'll ask for all the shots, and you have to quarantine them in your house for 2 weeks, and they'll come back and check up and they'll let it go.
Yeah, and that's the extent of it in a one-bite state. Like I said, the vast majority of states, if I remember correctly, are all one-bite states. Some states, which I don't understand, Oklahoma of all places, but they're a no-bite state. Yeah, in Oklahoma, if your Chihuahua nips Aunt Fifi on her big toe, yeah, that's a vicious dog.
Wow.
So in Oklahoma, so you need to check your different states to see what their statutes are.
Yeah.
And one way you can do that, just Google vicious dog. It's generally termed a vicious dog. Google vicious dog laws, Oklahoma, vicious dog laws, Maine, whatever your state is. And now you're going to have to look through a whole bunch of stuff, but you'll see what they are. The general rule is, if your dog is protecting you and you have justifiable, reasonable cause to fear for your life or your property is being taken, you're okay.
Yeah.
So in Texas, they actually went so far as to write it into the statute of the vicious dog law in '92 that trained professional security guard dogs, etc., are exempt if someone's on their property.
So do working dogs, certified working dogs, like you train here, do those dogs, is that different, doesn't matter if they're trained or they're just a house dog, or is it sent, I'm just talking to people out there that, might have a trained dog.
Right.
And, I guess what I'm trying to get at is the handling of those dogs also.
Right. If you're in Texas, you don't have to worry. I actually got to consult with the state, two of the state representatives when they were writing that law. They were kind enough to call and ask me what I thought about, what dogs, what they should write up, because they understood the value. In Texas, the guard dog industry was pretty popular, and they understood the value of these dogs. They didn't want guard dog companies going out of business for fear of legislation, legal acts. So they wrote that in after I consulted with them quite a lot to exempt professionally trained dogs. Now, I'm not saying your state does that, but Texas does. What you got, Carol?
I said Alabama is
Who?
no bite state.
Did you write down?
Alabama is a no bite state,
Is that a question or statement?
a statement.
Okay, so Alabama's another one.
So basically, they can be, have both the stand your ground and the castle laws and still have a no bite clause in there?
Yep. But the thing, the no bite is gonna affect mostly incidental, accidental bites. The Castle Doctrine is going to trump the one bite deal as
Right.
far as the final outcome of your
Right,
dog.
because I was looking into some of the conditions, and I know that, like, Maine is just a Castle Doctrine, but they have stand your ground in your house only. And I was reading a little, I didn't get enough time to read it, all of it, but that's makes a lot of sense.
Right, right.
Where everybody's different, it's just, there's no basic standard on anything.
I'm surprised because if there's two more redneck states than Oklahoma and Alabama, and I expect the redneck states to be a little more aggressive with their laws, and I'm shocked that those are two states that both have no bites.
Yeah.
You think they'd give it a nod? Yeah, get your dog under control, go on. But you never know.
Right.
So what do you do to keep your dog out of ever being in that position in the first place? If you want to keep your house from being burglarized. Now the stats I'm giving you now, these are things that every so many years the FBI goes around and they question prisoners. Yes, sir.
Second Wind had a question.
Hey, Second Wind, go.
Hold on, let me find it again. What if you're in public and send your dog to protect? What are the consequences?
If you're in public and you send your dog to protect, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, protect yourself. What are the consequences?
Okay, it's real simple. You have to fear for your life or fear for immediate loss of property. So it's as simple as that.
So you wouldn't send him.
No, you should never send them. I testified in a case in Odessa many years ago with a gentleman who claimed I trained his dog, and he was in a park, and he said this man was beating up this lady, and he sent his dog to save her. Well, in the first place, he had come and participated in a pro sports trial, but that's not the same as me training his dog.
Right.
But I had a state license, so he thought I could give a little more legal oomph. But it's like, well, in the first place, I had to tell the judge, no, I know who the guy is, but I never trained his dog. So
Right.
no, he's not professionally trained by me, a licensed professional. The second thing is, as the judge told him, he said, basically, you're sticking your nose in somebody else's business.
Mm-hmm.
So, Second Wind, if you are, let's take a purse snatcher. Your lady, your friend, your wife, or whatever's got a bag and she's a tote and she's walking around, and some little punk comes up, snatches that purse, takes off running. Hey, send Fido.
Personal.
Get your
Yours.
purse back. Yeah.
Yep.
It's your property.
Yep.
If someone is, you're walking, we have not a big problem. We have incidences in some of the jogging trails around here, especially for the ladies, where perverts are hanging in wait and stepping out to grab them. Everyone probably saw a big deal a couple of weeks ago where a 11-year-old girl was waiting for a school bus, and some perv jumps out of his car and tries to snatch her up, and she was able to fight him off. She's a brave little girl. If she'd have had a dog, and that person's his attempt to snatch her fails, and he's running away, she could have sent the dog. So remember, personal safety or property, your dog's justified
With you.
with you.
Not some people fighting in the corner over there.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So, and then if you look at, so how do you keep your house? Oops, what we got, Carolyn?
Cat fight said, yep, that's why I watch all your videos to train my Akita correctly.
Oh, Nikita, nice.
Yeah, she got an Akita.
Oh.
You want to get bit and stay bit for a while? Get bit by an Akita.
Bring it on down.
Yeah, that's a real dog bite. So if you want to keep your dog you want to keep him out of this legal position, there's two things you can do. Let's take two situations: your personal property and an attempted thug on the street robbery. Okay, so for your personal property, as I started to say, the FBI, they go around and they interview professional thieves, in prisons every couple of years, and they write I think it's every 10 years, a report comes out, and, you know, they'll ask thieves, what's the biggest deterrent and this sort of stuff, or at least this is what they did when I had my guard dog company, because I subscribe to that list so I can keep up with, you know, what's good to stop crooks.
Mm-hmm.
So the number one deterrent from a professional burglar robbing your house. Anyone want to take a stab at it? What's the one thing that'll make a burglar decide not to hit your house to go somewhere else?
A dog.
Huh?
A dog.
Nope.
A gun?
And everyone would expect, nope, everyone would expect me to say a dog, but it ain't a gun.
A crazy housewife?
It ain't a dog. No, you know, I don't know if that was listed, but that would do it. I did see a sign in Amarillo one time on a country road that had a lady had a sign out there that said, "No dogs, crazy grandma with shotgun," and she'd never been robbed, so maybe that would. Nope. Number one deterrent is light. A well-lit premises is the best thing in the world. Number two deterrent is noise. So a barking dog will also stop a burglar.
Yep.
So those are your two biggest deterrents for your home. Get a dog who will fire off, teach him how to, whenever he hears funky noises, to sound off and bark. You're good. Because here's what a professional burglar thinks. That place is all lit up. I could be seen getting in or coming out. Or that place, maybe it's not so lit up, but listen to that dog yapping, yapping, yapping. He could attract some attention. And you know what? I can go 3 houses down, and there ain't no porch lights, there ain't no dog barking, so they're not going to go into a situation like that. I mean, if you really get down to it, except for the crackheads that are doing it for a fix, these burglars and these people, they're professionals. They know how to do their job, you know.
No lights and a silent hunter.
Know what?
No lights and a silent hunter.
There you go. Exactly. So what do you do if you're walking down the street and you want to deter a potential, like these ladies that are jogging?
It's your dog to an alert? The dog?
Well, no. There's something you can do before that. And I'm not even going to ask anybody to guess because I know they're not going to guess. So if everybody's listening, there are some people who will get crazy enough that even if you've got a big old Western Shepherd at your side, they might try to rob you. They might decide, I can stand back 15 feet, point a gun at you and say, throw your wallet out here. There's some pervs who might hide behind a tree till a lady's past them, then jump out thinking they can grab her around the neck, and she can't do anything. She'll make her dog stop. So how do you deter those people from even starting to attack you or jump you when you got your dog? Obedience. Simple, efficient obedience. There's nothing more impressive than a big old Rottweiler who runs at your side and stops when you stop and starts when you start, and maybe that you let him go wandering off and you make one command and he's back at your side. There is nothing, because anyone who's watching you thinking they're going to take something from you is going to see this dog, first off, big and powerful. Second, he's listening to everything you say the first time you say it. What the hell's going to happen if I go try and grab you?
No like those odds. Yep.
So if you want to do this, you know, and if you look in the canine, if you look for a Canine Pro Sport certification, there's 300 points available altogether. 200 of them are in the obedience, because there's nothing more important. What do you got, Carol?
Second one said couple scenarios, carjacking, mugging.
Carjacking what?
When you got two people out, and he says there's a couple scenario that want to do carjacking or mugging. Like there's two, and there's only you and your dog.
There's two
Two attempting to carjack you?
Two
A team.
robbers,
two robbers, one car.
team, and one person with their dog. Just the same thing you said before,
In a carjacking or
a carjacking or a mugging.
mugging? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
Convenience for your dog?
it's gonna be the same thing, it's gonna be the same.
Okay.
Now, in a carjacking, you've got an advantage. In fact, we're gonna put up a video on carjacking. In a carjacking, the biggest problem, but I guarantee you, I have moved multiples of people, little gangbangers who were getting together for gang fights. And I have moved upwards of probably 15 or 20 of them off of the premises where the fight was supposed to occur with just 3 dogs. So 2 muggers, if you got 1 dog, you're handled. These are actually, I'm glad you brought that up. These are 2 unique situations that we're going to put up. What you can do in a 2 dog, I will give this much away. If 2 people are fixing to mug you, and 1 you feel is an immediate threat, and you send your dog to stop him, and you always unclip your leash, you always send the dog without the leash on. Always. Because your leash, believe it or not, is your secret weapon if you're a dog handler.
Mm-hmm.
If you know how to use it. We call it canine jitsu. So we'll be doing some videos on that in the future. If you see us say something second about canine jitsu, you'll know what the topic's going to be. But always keep your leash in your hand. Okay. Carjacking, there's several ways you can go about it, but the biggest thing is this. There's 2 or 3 different ways. In El Paso at Christmas, the big way they do carjackings is they watch someone coming out with a lot of packages of the mall, the cars that are parked in the back in the dark, and as they unlock the door, they stick a gun in your ribs and say, throw your packages in the car and get out of the way, give me your keys. The other way, the most common way, is when they catch people at traffic lights. They're going to catch a car that's in the front. The little punk's going to stand there like one of these people, these homeless guys begging for money. And instead of the homeless guy, he's going to walk up as you stop. He's going to pop your door open, point a gun at you, tell you to get out, leave the car running. Those are the 2 most common forms of carjacking. And I know there's people who do sports where they do what they call a carjacking, where the carjacker runs up and sticks his arm in the car for the dog to bite it on the passenger side. If you're watching that stuff, folks, please, that is not carjacking. That's just idiots.
So you got a dog in the car and he gets in, he's in deep shit. In trouble, excuse me, PG. But
Yeah.
if you get jacked and someone, they don't know the dog's in there.
Well,
Unless the dog starts barking.
that's it, and that's what you do. If someone grabs your door, there's a scenario where you can go by that's even safer. But we're going to put that up in a separate video, so I'm not going to go into it tonight. But be watching a second, Lynn. What we got?
Got 2 minutes left.
All right, we got 2 minutes left.
All right.
Anything else you think we can wrap up with, Scott?
No, you got it covered pretty good. My question is going to take another 20 minutes, so I'm going to save that for next week.
Okay, we're going to save one for next week. We'll go into this a little bit more, okay? So you folks want to come back for a little more security guard dog stuff, we'll jump into it next week. We will see you folks then.
See you guys later.